Hello again, Gills fans. Welcome back to another episode of Gills in the Blood TV. You didn't think I was going to go through a whole summer without a Gills in the Blood Chats too, did you? And as you can see, I'm very pleased to announce my latest guest is none other than local lad and former centre-back Jack Tucker. Jack, first of all, welcome to the channel.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate your time. Last knockings of your summer holidays.
Yeah, final bits. Had a good summer. Yeah, obviously goes too quick as it always does, but
not for fans. Not for fans.
No, I bet. I bet
it drags a lot.
Nearly upon us in that pre-season, so
I think most teams are back in now, so fingers crossed it don't take too much longer now. Obviously we're here to talk about Jack's time at Gills predominantly because it is a Gills channel, so I think a fair place to start, mate, is 2007.
Yeah,
seems like a long time ago now. You joined the Gills Academy aged 7. I know it's almost a silly question, you were 7 years old, but can you remember how you felt at the time as a kid, thinking like, I'm joining a professional football club's academy? You must have been like buzzing at the time.
Vaguely, yeah. Obviously, I played for Whitstable, which is where I live, where we are now.
Yep.
As a kid, played for the year above me in the under 7s. So I was under 7 playing in the under 8s. I remember my manager, or the coach at the time, wherever it was, one of the kids' dads, got into contact with Gills and see if I could come in for a trial. Mm-hmm. Obviously said yes because there's loads of kids that sort of try out at that age, at under 8 stage. Went in and I remember being really nervous. I don't remember a lot about it, but I remember being really nervous because obviously a lot of lads have been there for a little while, so sort of they're all mates and got their little cliques and stuff.
So joining middle of the term.
Yeah, so obviously at the time, like, there's not really much to be nervous about football-wise, is there? Because you just play football once you're out there. But I just remember being really nervous, and luckily kept sort of at that stage. I think it's every 6 weeks you sort of get progressed to the next stage until the end of the season. And then, obviously going into the under 9s is when you sign your first contract for a year. Got offered a contract, and then, the rest was history, really. Just sort of kept getting another year until under 16s, and then the youth team, and then obviously eventually break into the first team.
Did you? It's a long old slog, isn't it? When you say it like that, it's a year at a time, and obviously you're still a kid, so you're still developing mentally, physically, and all that type of thing. So I can understand, like you say, it's as a kid you've got no fear, you're just playing football.
Yeah.
But there must be some pressure because you know that.
Of course, yeah.
You've got a chance to play professional football. That's why you're there. That's why they said you can have the trial in the first place.
I think probably when you're young, you don't think, oh, this is me going to be a professional footballer. You probably
of course
doesn't hit you until probably a bit of a later date. Probably under. I think when you hit under 16s, that's when you sort of start to get to the serious stuff where you feel like, right now I'm playing for a scholarship, playing for.
So that's almost like your first sort of playing for your future.
Yeah, because up until under 14s, you play on a Sunday morning, and it's sort of all not friendly, like, 'cause you're always playing against like other teams in your sort of level. But sort of when you get to under 16s, that's when you feel like results start to actually matter rather than just playing for like development and all that stuff. Obviously under 16s, and then you might get called up for a youth team game, which you feel like, Jesus Christ, these are all like men at under 18s, even though you look back now and 18s just look like young kids, don't they still? That was all great. Enjoyed it thoroughly in the academy. I had a great time, obviously up in Candid, which is only 15 minutes from me.
Nice and local.
Ideal.
For you,
Done me a favour. There's a lot of boys up towards like Dartford, Gravesend sort of way, so I had the lucky end of the straw there that I was nice and local to training.
And then, like you say, you pass through them age groups, and then you start getting minutes in the youth team, and then if you're lucky, you start getting pre-season minutes with the first team, which is I think where we first noticed you. And I remember, this is a nice story to be fair. We were stood, me and my old man, at Faversham at a pre-season game back in the summer of 2017, and this couple come up to us and said, "Can we have a look at the team sheet, please?" And I sort of said, "Yeah, of course you can, no problem at all." And they took a photo of it on their phone, and I politely asked and said, "Why are you taking a photo of the team sheet?" It's just a sheet of paper. It was Jack's parents, and obviously they were watching him, not for the first time, but I suppose they were immensely proud because the same as you, they're thinking, he's actually got a chance here. He's in and around the first team, albeit in the summer. And how much of a role do they play, parents?
Yeah, massive. I think that was my first taste of a first thing going to football at Gills. Obviously, you're involved in training and go on loan and stuff, but that was my first. Obviously, it's not a debut because it's only a friendly, but that was sort of the first one where you're like, wow, I just played a game for the first team. So that was obviously great. Obviously nervous as well, but no, it was a good game. Back to the parents, sort of massive role. Always been very, very supportive and never too hard on me. Like you hear a lot of stories about dads being on their case all the time. Like that wasn't one of them.
It's got to be the balance.
Yeah. I think like even works. Like you hear about some of the best players in the world about how hard their dads were on them, whatever it was. But no, it's just a good mix. I think both very supportive. Both came to a lot of my games as when I was a kid. Drove me up and down the country on a Saturday and giving up their weekends. So yeah, obviously couldn't have done it without them, as everyone will tell you.
I know it seems a bit of a cliche question, doesn't it?
Yeah,
but it is. If they don't put that time in and they can't ferry you here, there and everywhere, then the whole process stops very quickly, doesn't it?
So yeah, couldn't have done it without them.
Come to all the games now, or?
Yeah, a lot of them to be fair. Obviously I've been a little bit further away than just being at Gills, but most home games they come to, whether that's been at MK or Colchester.
Yeah.
Then the away ones that aren't mega far away they'll come to as well.
There's a lot of them, and they in League
Yeah,
Two.
to be fair, this year was bad, wasn't it?
I looked at it and there was a
Northern League too.
graphic come out again a couple of days ago. I got tagged in and I think it was only Barrow or above Gillingham in terms of fans and round trips. And it's both your former clubs, MK and Colchester, are probably going to be similar. Yeah, you want to be like a Walsall, really.
Yeah, you want to be in the Midlands somewhere.
Right in the middle, it's nice and easy to get to everywhere. So that was that friendly. I think that was Tom Eves. I remember Tom Eves chasing Dad at right back that day just to go off on a tangent. The poor lad looked absolutely terrified. You know how big Tom Eves was. He was an absolute unit.
Yeah, he was a big lad.
Your debut came later that year, though, in the autumn of 2017.
Right.
On the telly. Against Portsmouth. It's probably fair to say you wouldn't have been playing if there'd not been a lot of injuries. But he was on the bench, and then I think Ben Nugent pulled up lame.
Yeah, just before half time.
So you came on and had to play the second half live on the TV for your first team debut.
Yeah.
Do you remember much about it, or?
Yeah, quite a bit to be fair. It was a whirlwind, to be honest. I remember I'd not even been amongst the first team really until I think the Thursday before that Saturday game.
Right.
Just because I think Gabs was away on international duty, and there was someone else that was injured or
I think Luke O'Neill was
weren't
injured,
available. Yeah, maybe something like
started
that.
The game.
Finn played, so yeah, it was sort of on the Friday, just sort of training amongst the first team and thinking sort of as the day went on, you're starting to work out like, is there like numbers for me to be on the bench, or is it going to be like too many? And I think it ended up being 19 like first team lads in the squad. So I fully went to like meeting before the game on the Saturday, just expecting to be our 19th man, which like at the time still absolutely just happy to be involved. Really, like
first team,
wasn't too fussed at all. And then the meeting goes up on the board, and your name's on there. You're like,
so was your manager? It was Peter Taylor at the
Peter
time.
Taylor
He was back in caretaker charge at the time, weren't he?
So you see your name, you're like, oh wow, like on the bench in the first team game. And obviously I knew before the game that was, I mean, I was probably going to watch the game on TV had I not been in the squad.
Yeah.
So I was aware that it was on Sky, and obviously just around the ground there's more cameras than there usually is in a normal game. So you're aware it's obviously a big occasion for someone at my age. Like it's all new to me, that obviously. And then just remember warming up. Game gets started, and I think I can't remember when they scored. It was 0-0 at half time, I think, wasn't it? They scored.
I think they scored just
early in the second half.
They beat us 1-0, didn't they?
Yeah, I just remember going down to warm up on the sideline like you do as a sub. And Nuge went down after I think it was like 43 minutes or something like that. And I think it was Steve Lovell who was on the bench at the time as a coach. Just shouted, "Jack, come back!" Like I think Jesus Christ.
You was what, 17 at the time?
Yeah, 17 I was.
And you looked like a kid. I mean, no most respects, like sort of stick right type thing.
No muscle on me at all, just a little skinny lad.
It probably didn't help that the player was coming off was an absolute unit.
Yeah,
Ben was a big lad, weren't he?
Yeah, he was, yeah.
So you couldn't have looked smaller if you tried, bless you.
So, obviously, that probably did help me in a way that I didn't have time to get nervous. Like if I was starting the game, I'd have had all night the night before thinking, oh God, I'm starting. Like,
so did he bring you on just before half time?
Yeah, it was just before. I had played about 3 minutes before half time.
So similar, even if he'd gone at half time, you're coming on, you'd have
exactly.
Stew, so it probably helps a little bit.
So that was crazy, and then obviously we lost the game 1-0, but I did okay. I think it didn't do great, but didn't do badly. Didn't sort of kill myself in any way. But obviously it was just a great experience, like playing. That's my first team debut for the club that I've been at since I was 7 years old. So just a really proud moment for me.
Absolutely.
As you can imagine, sort of what I'd worked all those years to do was essentially make a debut, and then once you do that, you want to kick on to the next step and stuff.
You get the taste of it, don't you? Like anything.
But no, it was like you said, I was nowhere near ready for first team football at that stage. So it wasn't a case of I wanted to stay in the team after that. It was purely filling the hole.
So who was the back four when you came on? So it would have been you and Max. Finn played 90 minutes, I think.
Finn played, yeah.
Connor Ogilvie left back?
I don't know, actually.
I'm sure I read it was. I'm sure I looked and it was Conor Oakley.
Yeah, you probably know better than me.
It was Big Thomas in goal, I think, wasn't it?
Thomas played.
So you didn't stand next to him either, then you looked even smaller.
No, yeah. I couldn't remember a lot of the team, to be fair. I think Lee Martin played.
Waggy played in that game? Josh Parker?
I think Josh Parker played, yeah.
Jake.
Josh Parker. Yeah, Hesse might have done. Conor Wilkinson, maybe, not sure.
He might have been in the squad, or he might have been injured.
I think DJ came on.
So names you're saying, like DJ would have been a kid as well. So
yeah.
Down to the bare bones, weren't we? With you, DJ, Finn.
Yeah, for sure, yeah. I think Elliot List came on. But yeah, no, it was one of them sort of happy to fill a hole, obviously, but then it was, by no means was I anywhere near ready for first team football. So it was sort of after that game, once lads came back, Gabs was back from international, it was back to my normal development with the youth team and doing normal things again. Obviously, it was lovely to have that under my belt and sort of, if my football career ended there, I could say I've played a game in League One. This
and for you,
something to be proud of.
Well,
Exactly. So obviously I was delighted to do it, and then I had to buy my time a bit after that. But no, it was a great day out.
Quiz question for you: for future teammate lined up for the opposition that day?
Yeah, it's a good question.
Your captain?
Stu O'Keefe.
Stuart O'Keefe, played centre midfield.
I
nearly thought it was two because Ollie Hawkins played centre half, but obviously you left him the year before he.
We spoke about that, me and Stu, when obviously played with each other for a couple of years. You chat about your past careers and whatever you've done. Obviously, I hadn't done a lot of the time, so it was my debut was against Portsmouth, and I was like, oh, were you there at the time? I was like, yeah. I think he was the captain that day as well, maybe.
As well.
That was a small world moment that when we found that out. But
it is, and then the more you play, like I say, the more you bump into us.
Yeah, exactly. You find out that you played against people back in the day that. Yeah.
You've spoken about loan spells. I think you said you played for Faversham. Did you say you played for Faversham?
No. Oh, Whitstable, sorry. When I was a kid.
And then you had loan spells at Greenwich Borough, which was like a work experience loan. You went to Hastings, I think it was.
Yeah, I think I was second year scholar when I went to Greenwich, which is exactly what I needed at the time. Obviously, wasn't ready for League One football, so.
So it's just about going out and getting regular
You
football.
play against men, don't you? It's so different to playing against kids in the under 18s. So obviously you play against these lads who obviously might not have the ability that you see every day, but just the physicality is just so different that.
I was going to say, is the physicality perhaps more because you get targeted because they're like, oh, he's a little upstart.
Well, probably, yeah.
100%. They think, I don't want to be mugged off by a 17-year-old who thinks he's made it.
Like you see it now, if I was going to go and play a non-league game and my mates are playing, and I was coaching of some sort, so I'd play on him, you would, wouldn't you? It's just sort of any advantage you can gain. So it sort of chucks you in the deep end a little bit because you've got the ability to play at that level, but it's just learning how to use your body, learning tricks of the trade, really.
And on that side of it, you're well beyond them established players.
They're all bigger than you. They're all men in men's bodies. You're a boy trying to play in a men's game. So it's like unbelievable experience just to get under your belt. I don't think I'd have kicked on the way I did if I hadn't had that. So that was good. Played a few games, sort of was in and out of the team as you are as a kid. I think we ended up in the playoffs that year, but I'd gone back because my work experience had run out by that time.
Work experience were only essentially
I think it's a month, yeah, so that was that. And then on to Hastings was, I think, in my first year pro year, so I'd have been 18, with Chris Agutta, the manager, who I believe is now at Worthing. And he was always sort of a good manager for the level, sort of played more attractive style of football than probably that level would usually be associated with. So that was obviously advertising for me to go there. And played a lot of games, done well. We were in a good team, spent a little bit longer there than I did at Greenwich. We ended up losing the playoff semi-final to Ashford, I think it was, in extra time. Lost, I think it was 2-1. So gutted.
But that's the games you want to play, like you said.
But
does it mean something?
For what I'd done in my career at that time, that was a really big game. Because Hastings used to get a lot of fans. I think there's probably 1,000 people there. There's a good following down there. Great club. Enjoyed my time there. Just sort of gave me a taste of games that mean something. Like these lads, I was there for 2 months. Obviously, it meant a lot to me, but. These lads have worked all year for these games, and the fans have been waiting however long for an opportunity like that. So it's a massive occasion for that town at the time.
Certainly your hometown recently.
Yeah, exactly. You see what it does for.
I was down here a few weeks ago, the day before the final, and people were selling scarves in the
it was massive. Yeah. I was up there for the final.
I saw your Instagram story.
Yeah,
gone up to watch
it. That was a great day. I watched the first half and we got battered. Couldn't see a way we were going to get back into it. Second half, just like a new team came out. It was unbelievable. I think we had probably twice as many fans as the other team did in the crowd, and the amount of people you see that you know, it's just like turn the corner, oh, there's someone I know. Felt like the whole of Whitstable was there.
I was going to say, yeah.
I imagine it was a bit of a ghost town here that day, but
like when Gills got there years and years ago,
the
clubs were so well followed that you feel like everyone's left Medway, and it was the same for that as well. Yeah, and obviously winning always helps, doesn't it?
It does,
never games you want to lose.
Yeah, it makes it a bit of a better memory.
You spoke about biding your time. You'd had that experience. You'd had your loan spells. It was Steve Evans that then chucked you back in, I think, on a more regular basis. I think your second league debut, if you want to call it that, when you became more established. I think you played out of position.
Yeah,
Crystal
right
Rovers,
back, yeah.
You came on at right back, very full,
about
got
10
injured.
minutes in.
And if the internet's done me a dirty, you was up against, I think it was Luke Leahy, was their left wing back at the time, Johnson Clark Harris up front as well.
It did,
So that was another nice baptism of fire.
Yeah, sort of, again, thrown in the deep end a little bit, sort of. Probably lucky I was playing right back rather than centre half, because Clark Harris is obviously a big boy, isn't he? So
he's a beast, wasn't he?
Yeah, it'd have taken some doing. It probably wasn't still filled out into a man's body yet. I was still probably growing into that.
So who'd you have at centre back helping you that out? Would it have been?
It was Max and Connor, I think.
So Max was still there, because I didn't know. Oh no, because that was the season Gav got released, didn't he? So
Gav wasn't there that year. I think it was Max and Connor. I want to say might have been Tom O'Connor left back, I think.
Yeah, I think he scored a goal.
He did score a goal. I remember that. Yeah, drew 1-1, didn't we?
That's it. Yeah.
But yeah, 10 minutes in, just again like the actual debut, just sort of didn't have any time to think about it. Just thrown on the deep end, sort of looking around on the bench when Baz went down, thinking, oh, who could come on here? And yeah, it was me. So
pointed at you.
And I'd never played right back in my life, not even in the kids stuff. So I was like, Jesus, don't know what to expect here. But yeah, got through it, and obviously it was a good result for us at the time.
You never seem to have two fullbacks at Gills. It always seems to be that someone has to fill in. For like all the time I've watched them, it's like, oh, we've got a good right back and a left back, but a midfielder might have to go play, or a centre half, I have to shuffle.
Yeah, it's funny how it works, isn't it?
But that's budgets, isn't it, at this level? So if you want to go and buy a striker or a winger, you have to sort of lose something somewhere else. Don't you?
You've got to make compromises here and there, don't you? So.
But yeah, it was a 1-1 draw. So again, like you said about your debut, we lost, but you didn't disgrace yourself. You felt you'd done all right. So then you make that second debut, as we called it, to then be on the side that's managed to pick something up as well. And again, was on the pitch when we scored our equaliser. Must have been superb.
Get something out of the game, obviously I was happy that I was back out there and playing amongst the first team again, but you don't want to be on a losing team, do you? You want to help the team to gain something rather than the only accompaniment you got from that game is, oh, I played. You want to play and affect the game and get a positive result out of it.
Because that gives you more of a chance to get back on the side as an individual, doesn't it? You have to be slightly selfish.
Teams that are winning tend to stay that team for longer than they do losing teams. So yeah, that was obviously good. And then, stayed pretty much in the team from then on for a little bit.
I think you played 28, 29 games that season.
Yeah, that was the year it got cut short for COVID, wasn't it? I think.
Played under Steve Evans. We have to talk about Steve Evans. I don't think you can go through an interview without talking about Steve Evans.
Expecting that.
We all see this type of this character larger than life. I think it's the fairest way of putting it. We see the persona he puts across on the telly or on social media.
Yeah.
I think it might be fair to say that fans of opposition clubs have a very different opinion of him, and we probably had that opinion of him until he came and managed our football club. I remember saying at the time I admired Paul Scully because he took the club out of his comfort zone. Before that, it always felt like I was an ex-player coming out, I was an ex-manager, a little bit safe option. I'm glad you said that as well. What was Steve like? Was he exactly the same behind closed doors on the training pitch, or was there a different side to Steve?
There is a different side to Steve, but obviously the stuff you see on the sideline and see in the media is him. Like, that is his personality, which is like, obviously some people like it, some don't. But definitely a different side to him. Like, whenever you go and speak to him behind closed doors, go into his office, you couldn't speak to a better man. Like, he's always honest with you and funny. Like, he'd make you laugh. Like, he's always good around the changing room when things are going well. And obviously, fully grateful for him, because without him I probably wouldn't have got that chance. Sort of needed someone to throw me in the deep end, and
he's probably still the manager that he played the most games under, isn't he?
Yeah, it would have been. Just 2.5 years pretty much. Obviously there's loads of stuff that surrounds him, isn't there? Like with his antics.
But that only comes out when clubs are not doing well, doesn't it? And teams are not doing well. That stuff only gets talked about, and we know about his past.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Everyone makes mistakes.
I don't think you can argue it. Obviously, he's managed some really good clubs in his career, which obviously speaks for itself. And I think where Gills were at the time, like we finished what, 10th 2 years in a row. Yeah,
we got 10th, didn't we, based on points per game, because they bumped us above Ipswich, which upset them that first season, and then the second season we were really, really good.
Which sort of speaks for itself. Like, I think the budget we probably had at that year was nowhere near 10th in League One, so it sort of
No, and I think we were probably lucky with being able to sign some people over that COVID period that you might not have got in normal circumstances.
Yeah, so I think for where we were budget-wise and probably players-wise, I think we definitely overachieved. I think sort of some of the teams we played against and beat and took points off in those 2 years was quite impressive, to be fair. I think played Sunderland that 4 times in that first year when I was playing. I think don't think we lost them once in 4 games. Which, like, you look at Gillingham and Sunderland, it's just like one's in the Premier League now and one's in League 2. So it's like when you can
gone in completely different directions. Just the size of the stadium.
When you can hold your own against a team like that.
That was the last game, wasn't it, before COVID?
It was, yeah. 2-2.
That was a quality day.
Mika scored 2, did he? Mika Mandron, I think.
Probably his best game for us as well.
Yeah, he was unplayable that game. He was unbelievable.
Could we have got in the playoffs that season if it hadn't been cut short? We still had teams in and around us.
Yeah, I think
we had Fleetwood, Coventry. We had to play. It was all teams that were in and around us, and we still had 9 to go, and we was on.
We did.
Run.
We were. I mean, we had that big. Was it 13 games unbeaten or something?
13, 15, something.
Yeah, something like that. So sort of, we were only sort of going upwards on a trajectory. Obviously, it's a long way to go. It's easy to say, "Oh, we would have been in it," but I think we generally had every chance. I don't know what the points were. It slips my mind now how far we were actually off it, but I think
we had momentum, didn't we?
Yeah, just the squad we had. I think probably wasn't filled with like outstanding players, but I think just everyone bought into the same thing with Steve, which you have to do, because obviously he plays a way that some people might not want to play, but we had 11 plus lads on the bench that were fully behind that way of playing, and it clearly works. Like when you're getting results, it obviously helps lads to buy into whatever's going on. But yeah, like with everyone sort of, that sort of team we had sort of set in stone, it didn't really change too much throughout that season, did it? So I think if we kept that together,
trusting towards about 14, 15 players, weren't he? And then if anything beyond that, then he'd look at others. But he had like a core group that he said we're going to play the majority of the minutes.
13 odd that was 1 or 2 changes might happen each week, but it was always generally that core that was always the same. And it did well, to be fair. Yeah, so you can't complain.
No, because that second season was behind closed doors, but it was on merit, wasn't it? Everyone was the same rules. We didn't get bumped up or anything like that. Your first goal was in the EFL Trophy, which is not a competition that's loved by many.
No.
I think it serves a purpose. I'm in the minority when I say that, because I think it's great for people like you at that age
to
get minutes. The younger players at the moment that are at the club will get minutes, and generally it gives players that have not been in the first team minutes as well. But I'm guessing it didn't matter to you, and it weren't their first team. But to say your first goal was against Tottenham Hotspur must have been quite a moment.
Especially as an Arsenal fan, that was a little bit nicer. So I was happy with that one. A couple of my Spurs mates weren't too happy, but that gave me a little bit of stick that I could give them, so that was nice, obviously. But just
played Arsenal as well, didn't we, in the same competition?
The season after. I think like even Saliba played in that game.
I think they got Callum Chambers on as well.
Yeah. Smith Rowe, I think, played. They had a couple, obviously, people were doing unbelievable.
Because then there was 2 that played for us that were on loan because they let them play, didn't they?
Trey
scored our goal,
But no, obviously, you dream of scoring a goal at professional level. So that was obviously unbelievable. It is the EFL Trophy, which, like you said, I think people have differing opinions on, but I think, like you said, it's for someone of my age then
was football. Sorry, just to interrupt.
That's right.
It's just games to you, I suppose, isn't it?
It is. I think I don't think it's bad, because if you're playing every week, most teams now, because the squads are getting bigger and bigger, if you're playing every week in the league, you're not going to play in that game anyway, really. And if you are not playing in the league every week, then you want to play a game. Sort of, you can have behind closed doors games at training grounds and stuff, but it's not the same. You want to have the pressure of a result matters and whatever, and playing against actual other people who are in a similar situation to you. So I think it works for all parties, really. It's a good opportunity, like you said, for young lads to get minutes, senior lads who aren't getting minutes to get minutes. And ultimately, if you do well in a game and impress, then that can only benefit you in trying to get to the league team. It's obviously it's more games into the schedule, isn't it, which is quite hectic around that time before Christmas. But I think if you sort of get out of it what you put in, if you want to have a go, and it's a chance to get to Wembley at the end of the day, isn't it? Like if you have a bit of a cup run, it's sort of
the thing I laugh about,
something to get excited about.
Fans would then suddenly start showing more of an interest once you get to like the quarter-finals and the semi-finals. And I'm sure if you ask any Peterborough fan, they're not moaning about it because they've won it in the last 2 years. You scored 3 other goals for us in the league.
Yeah.
Lost at Shrewsbury.
Yeah, lost 2-1 at Shrewsbury, yeah.
That was the day we got kicked off at the end, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was...
Mr. Rayner got chinned by this. That was
and
then obviously we've got them games to look forward to this season now, because obviously the whole Gareth Ainsworth thing.
Yeah.
Then there was another good goal in the 3-1 win against Ipswich.
Ipswich at home, that was COVID, I think.
That was the behind closed doors.
Yeah.
I think V scored 2 good goals that day.
Yeah.
And your last one was in the relegation season.
Wickham, yeah. Wickham at home. That was a good goal, yeah.
Oh,
that one. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, is that? Would you say that's probably your favourite in terms of technically?
Yeah, definitely. I think the cameras probably don't do it justice because it goes through a lot of bodies, so it's like you can't really see how the ball sort of flew, but.
And you sort of caught it on the top of the foot, sort of fading away on the outside.
Yeah, it was
of your
just
right
like
stick,
sort of low. Didn't really probably move much up or down, just sort of fizzed into that far corner. Ball got crossed in, flicked on, then just sort of lingered at the back post and struck it. And
we really looked like we was getting out of trouble at that time, didn't we?
Yeah, I think that's why. I mean, at the time it was my favourite goal because that got us a point. I think we drew 1-1, didn't we?
Yes.
And that was sort of, we had a few good results, won a few 1-0s, and it was sort of looking like we were going to.
Sheffield Wednesday as well, didn't we?
Neil at home. And it was looking like, because we were 10 points adrift, weren't we, when Neil came in. So we were thinking like we're giving ourselves the right chance here, and every point's obviously going to be massive. So that goal did feel big at the time.
Yeah, because Wickham were doing well as well.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It
wasn't an easy game at all. Yeah. And obviously it was my first goal in front of the Rainmen with a crowd in, so that was sort of ultra special because I've obviously been in the youth team, watched every single home game, and lads scoring in the Rainham end, and obviously the atmosphere is really good, and sort of always dreamt of that feeling really, just having that in front of the Rainham end, like being the club that I've grown up at for.
Gets you something out of the game.
Exactly, yeah. You sort of don't want to do that and lose 3-1, do you? Sort of feels a bit of a waste, but that was a great feeling for me. Sort of always seen a lot of good goals and like a lot late injury time winners and stuff. Like I could name loads off the top of my head that I've just seen the Rainham end erupt from where we sit by the tunnel when we're in the youth team. That was great. I loved it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a proper good goal. So technically it was really good, and it really meant something because I think it levelled it up, didn't it? They were in front.
Yeah, it was about 10 minutes left or something like that. Yeah.
Another quiz question for you.
Yeah.
In that Tottenham game, there was the son of a famous Argentinian that came on. The link is Spurs.
Is it Pochettino?
There we go.
I didn't think I knew that, and then when you said Argentinian,
with that one.
Yeah.
So, it was his son came on, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean,
he's Maurizio, I think.
I don't actually remember him coming on in that game, but I remember that being a thing that his son was.
When I was researching the questions and I saw the suspension, he got on in the second half, so I thought, right, I'm going to watch you. That's a fair play. You got 2 out of 2.
Yeah, take that.
We've spoken about 2021, how good we were. Again, we had a right go at the playoffs. We faded at the end. I think probably the Oxford game killed us.
Yeah,
when we were 2-0 up.
That sticks out. Yeah.
Was that the best Gills team you played in, or the best team you've played in your career?
I think
you don't have to answer that. I'm not saying to say, Gills are better than MK Dons and Culture.
No,
but I just thought for where we were in terms of budget and where we finished and the players that we had, I thought that's been one of our better sides over the last 5 or 6 years.
I think it would have been a good year to have fans in the stadiums for sure. I think it was probably an exciting team to watch as a fan, with Jordan on the one side, Verdane obviously was scoring all the time, Kyle Dempsey, just a lot of quality, that sort of the type of players that fans like to watch. Like me as a football fan, I'd want to watch those sort of players.
And we had a relatively young centre-back pairing, didn't we?
Yeah.
You had a lot of centre-back partners that year.
There was, I didn't really.
We started the season with it was Christian Mahoma, then we had Zek Medley.
Yeah.
Connor played there a few times.
Then we got Robbie Cundy in at January.
And then I was going to say, when Robbie came in, that was when we really
and then even
took
end
off.
of the season, it was last game of the season, Plymouth, which was only the season was done at that point. Tom O'Connor played. Me and Tommy were obviously only 21 and 22. Playing centre half, and I think we won that game 1-0 as well, so that was quite funny.
I think because we had a belter that year.
Yeah, he did. Really regarding that team, I think it was different to the year before in a sense, because I think we had more individual quality and sort of we'd win games off of that year. Whereas the year before, with the likes of Burner and people like that, and when we had Brandon and Meeker up top, I think we were all sort of, like I said earlier, where we bought into the same thing. I think that was a different type of team, but just as effective. Like we probably didn't win games playing as well as we did the year after with Verdane and Jordan, but just that like resilience that we had that year. It was a really good changing room.
Yeah, that second season, like you said, we played loads of really big sides.
Exactly. Like, I couldn't list them all off the top of my head, but people like Sunderland.
I just remember Conor Ogilvy's goal to Valley.
Yeah, unbelievable, wasn't it?
To be fair, all 3 goals that day were ridiculous.
Yeah, Dempsey scored the winner, didn't he? 3-2.
Yeah, smashed it into the roof and net from the box. Ollie had scored after about 2 minutes.
Yeah,
from the
early
edge
on,
of the box.
Yeah. Again, that game, like,
Beat them.
if we had fans there, that'd have been unbelievable.
Drew at Hull.
Drew at Hull, yeah.
You set up. I think you might have got an assist that game. You
Ollie
set up Ollie
Lee
Lee that day,
yeah.
Portsmouth we drew with. Sunderland hated us.
Sunderland, yeah, they never liked us, did they?
They're doing all right now, though, like you said.
I'm sure they're not too worried about us anymore, but yeah.
Ipswich beat Ipswich 3-1 the game you scored.
Beat Ipswich. I remember probably one of my favourite games was the first year when I broke in, was Boxing Day at Portman Road, drew 0-0.
Oh, yeah, they was getting it right up.
Far from a thriller, obviously, from a fan's perspective.
I remember, I think the social media reaction was they copped the right up because Conor Overby was taking ages to walk from one side of the pitch to take throws. That was just us that year, wasn't it? Like I was saying, it just Steve Evans.
Everyone hated us. It was a joy to be. It's nice when people hate you in a way, and when you're playing against teams.
If people moaning about you as opposition fans on social media, then your team's doing all right.
Yeah, I just remember it was like hammering it down with rain, like under the lights, Boxing Day, like near enough to sell out. Just like it was a proper game of football, wasn't it? Like it was just, as a kid that I still was at the time, just loved it. Like parents were there, like obviously a big crowd, isn't it, at Ipswich? So yeah, I loved that game.
Yeah, that was a good one. There was a few like that, weren't there? I think we had Peterborough drew 1-1 as well.
Yeah. Fratton Park as well. I actually remember where I played right back. We drew 0-0 as well, I think, and that was my first time playing there.
So we're Raglan at the post. That was your first season.
Yeah,
I do remember that one.
Played right back. That was early on in that season. But yeah, that was another game, like an iconic old ground.
Sorry, Sean Raglan.
Yes, yeah. I just remember defending that Fratton end, and they had about 4 corners in a row, and the whole
place is noisy.
Play up, Pompey. And you're just thinking, Jesus Christ, need to get this ball away from our goal soon here.
We've done all right at Pompey in the last few years.
We have, yeah.
Fair. Even like before you broke into the team, we went there and won 3-1.
I remember when Wilco scored the good goal,
That first touch was
remember that.
Yeah, that was probably the best first touch of his career.
Yeah.
Second season after, Tommy scored that ridiculous goal where he flipped it over the centre half and volleyed it. That was at the Fratton end as well.
Yeah, no, that's a really good ground to play at as well, Fratton Park. I loved it there,
as well. I mean, I like all, not to mention Arsenal, but I think like Arsenal, Tottenham, all the modern grounds are a bit samey now.
It's a bit different, isn't it? Yeah, like places like that sort of Hillsborough.
Yeah, that was another good
Portman
one.
Road, Fratton Park, like sort of all traditional grounds, aren't they? Like big clubs.
Stadium of Light was a newer ground, but it still
remains
that
feel.
It's not just a big circle.
Definitely, it has that feel about it. But yeah, like playing against those teams in League One, playing for Gillian, my home team, is just like days I dream of as a kid. Like, really enjoyable. Yeah.
The other side of the coin is obviously when it goes wrong, being local, you're in the spotlight. It hurts even more.
Yeah.
And after the 2 successful seasons, I think it's fair to say that no one really saw 21-22 coming.
No.
So how tough was relegation?
Yeah, it was horrible. I'd like to say it hurt me as much as it hurts fans, but obviously they're growing up their whole life since their kids supporting Gilliam, so obviously it's very painful for them. But yeah, it really did hurt me. Obviously, had we had given ourselves such a good chance at the end of the season when Neil came in, 10 points adrift, you're thinking, God, like it's a long way to go. But
to even get it to the final day was
he was really good, and just game by game. I think the first game we had was Cambridge at home, maybe 1-1-0.
Yeah,
with
back
him.
to Cambridge or Crewe, wasn't it?
Yeah, it might have been Crewe actually, don't know.
Then we went to Portman Road, who you mentioned was really unlucky there.
Played really well, that's when Lloyd got injured, wasn't it? Danny Lloyd.
I still think if we kept him fit, we'd have stayed up.
Yeah.
You'd find one more goal.
Yeah. It was tough. Like those games sort of at the end of the season, like I remember the Sunderland one where they won it last minute. Broadhead scored the header off my back late on, and that was like,
remember that one?
That like haunted me for a little while into the summer. Just like a tired late moment that just I should have done better with myself, which obviously beat myself up about. Like it's tough because obviously you still got every chance of staying up at that point, but it's hard knowing that point was there with a minute left, and it's just it was tough to take that.
But then we missed chances in the Fleetwood game at home.
Yeah, that was probably the one I remember being, because they were down there as well, and there was us or them, I think.
It was 2 red cards.
So
remember the weird
for the
red
same
cards?
tackle. Yeah, Charlie Kelman and there, that I can't remember.
And then we got the free kick. So how'd that work?
No idea. I've never seen that before, but
he's done it well, hasn't he?
Done very well, to be fair. Yeah, really well. So he'd have some good options next year, I'd imagine. It was tough. I think from the start of the season, really, we just never really got going. Sort of.
COVID affected the summer, didn't it? Didn't we have
I think we were training somewhere weird.
I thought we missed a load of pre-season because a load of the boys got COVID.
We did,
even missed
yeah, we
friendlies,
did,
didn't
yeah.
we? Not that I'm making excuses, but it obviously has an effect. I spoke to Vic a couple of years ago, and he said it absolutely killed you. That because you're essentially doing a pre-season in the campaign itself. But
obviously.
I imagine we weren't the only club.
No, you want obviously the best preparation you can, but like over 46 games in the season, ultimately you deserve to stay up or you don't you?
Table never lasts, does it? It's the trouble.
Obviously, you can blame a bit of bad luck here and there, but like I do remember before Christmas, we were like really down to the bare bones. I remember a game at Crewe away where we had, I think Gerald Satole started, I think Bailey Aker started, who were both, I don't think had started a game in their careers.
Didn't he make his debut at Wednesday?
Bailey, he might have done actually, yeah. And then,
I remember he came off and he walked around in front of us and he got an absolutely brilliant reception.
I just remember our bench being, I think it was Mustafa Carriol and I think 3 kids who hadn't even been on the bench before.
Yeah, and in that Wednesday game, Dempson, Verdane got injured.
So you look at your squad and this, as much as you've got 11 players on the pitch, like you always feel better when you know you've got players coming on that'll affect the game after 60 minutes, 70 minutes.
I think Rotherham was the same, wasn't it? I think we only had 4 or 5 subs.
You just like, when you feel like you're down to the bare bones, just things don't seem to go your way and you just end up in that cycle of, it's hard to get out of it, isn't it? Like,
remember that season, and we know Oxford was horrific, I'm not going to talk about that.
Yeah.
But I remember we went to MK Dons New Year's Day, drew 0-0.
Yeah, I remember that game.
Jamie Cullen was outstanding.
Yeah.
And I think Steve came out in the press afterwards and said, right, we're getting people fit now, we'll be fine. And I thought exactly the same.
Yeah.
Because Carl was on his way back, Verdane was on his way back.
Yeah.
But was it just the rot had just set in too much, essentially, that ended up costing us?
I think with Steve we got into a massive rot, sort of, it just got toxic around the place, like it was sort of, just wasn't a good place to be at the time, if I'm being brutally honest, which obviously is not nice to hear as a fan, because you want, obviously, regardless of results, you want things to always be looking up and positive.
Put it in the same direction,
Yeah, but it wasn't like that, and sometimes that's the way it is. Obviously it wasn't a case of being, there was bad people in the changing room, because there wasn't, like we were all sort of desperate to stay up. Things don't go away. Like you said, we missed our big players for big parts of that season.
And Carl left, didn't we?
Carl left in January.
I think he walked out as Neil walked in.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. So obviously that sort of, I think up until January we were only going one way. With if things didn't change with Neil coming in, we would have got even further away.
Do you also think if we'd replaced Steve quicker, not the point, because I know there was rumours in the December, weren't there, of him going to Stevenage, and I think Paul Scully said no, but we took a month essentially. We wasted a transfer window because we sacked Steve straight after Ipswich.
Yeah, and Neil came in deadline day, was it?
Literally on deadline day, and had a few hours. I think we brought Ben Thompson in, didn't he, from Millwall on.
Yeah, I remember that.
But do you think even if we replaced Neil like a week after Steve, or at least giving him a week of the window? Because again, we're talking 1 goal or 1 point.
It's hindsight, isn't it? You never know
it's never
how
wrong.
things
Absolutely,
are. But you'd like to think, with the way we did do when Neil did come in, if he did have an extra 3 games, whatever it was, would we have had a better chance of winning the game? Definitely, because the stats don't lie. Like with the games between Steve leaving and Neil come in, I don't know if we won one or not. I don't think we did very well at all. But
lost at Wigan, didn't we? 3-2.
Yeah.
Obviously, the Oxford one was an absolute car crash.
But yeah, I think.
Was there a 0-0 at home to Shrewsbury? Lloydie at the bar, free kick, Rainham.
I can't remember that.
Sure,
can't remember that. Yeah, you're probably right. You probably remember better than me. So yeah, you'd think you'd have a better chance. Obviously, there's no guarantees in football.
But was his first game, wasn't it, Steve? We took the lead. Robbie scored, and then we switched off last 10 minutes.
2-1,
2-1, 3-1.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
But that's literally go back to saying that's what it's like when you're struggling.
That's just when you're in that space. That's how things go, and it's like you almost feel helpless that you can't affect it. Obviously, you can, but it's just that those negative thoughts amongst the change room, and there's just that like nervous energy, isn't there, around the stadium? Like when you're down there, that side of the table, like you can just feel, because sort of the game's been that much more because you're playing for survival every day. Just that nervous energy creeps in, rather than if you're 10th from mid-table, you sort of just keep playing your game as you do. But just when it means that much more, it's there's that nervous energy just around. You can feel like the sort of the murmurs in the crowd, and it's just. Yeah, it's tough to get out of that spot. But
yeah, I remember speaking to Maxima a few years ago after the season when we nearly went down, when we drew at Northampton on the final day.
Yeah, I remember, yeah.
And he said, like, when you're under pressure and you're constantly defending because you can't get up the pitch and you're struggling and you're not playing well, he said everything, you just feel tired all the time.
Yeah.
You edit, it comes straight back. You try and pass it to a teammate, someone intercepts it. Yeah. Whereas, if, like you say, if you're 5 or 6, 7, 8 places higher up, that pass goes to feet, that header finds the teammate.
You don't even think about it.
It's, and I appreciate your honesty as well, saying obviously, because like you say, we don't want to hear as fans, they didn't get on or anything like that. But
no, yes, I mean, deserve to know, like, sort
But
of.
if you say in any other workplace, not everyone gets on, and that's essentially it's your job at the end of the day. So it's not always going to be perfect, is it?
No, definitely not. No, that's how football is sometimes. You sort of you have the highs and lows, and unfortunately that was a low sort of at the wrong time, really. But
and then that summer, I think you were offered a contract, but you took the decision to move on. You rejected the offer of a new deal. Thought process behind that was just MK Dons are a League One club.
Yeah, I mean,
and they're fairly local as well.
Because of my age, the club's always entitled to compensation, which, because I played a lot of games and I think the value was high at the time, it's sort of, I don't know how they work out, it goes to a sort of tribunal, but obviously I knew that would be a decent figure that the club would get if I was to move on. So they offered me I think they have to offer you the same or a little bit better than what the current deal is, so they offered me a marginally better one just sort of to protect themselves. And it was just, purely, I want to play at the highest level I can, sort of, as much as I dreamed of playing for Gillingham when I was a kid, I want to play for Arsenal at the end of the day. Like, that was obviously every footballer wants to play at the highest level, do the best they can and have a good career. So at the time, obviously MK finished third in League One the year before, lost out on the final day because Rotherham beat us, obviously. So inadvertently, stopped MK from going up. But sort of the club, MK at the time, I thought was only going in one direction. Is thinking, obviously, there's obviously a lot of good clubs in League One, but I was imagining, like I think everyone was at the club at the time, that we're going to be up there again, just whether it happens or not. But you'd expect to be plying your trade at the top end of the table rather than the bottom. So at the time, it was an exciting move and no regret, because same time now I would have gone to a club in League One at the click of a finger. I think it made the decision easier that the club at Gills was sort of, I feel like, only going one way at the time with the old owners. So it sort of there wasn't much to keep me thinking, it's all right. Like, some clubs go down and you're thinking, it's right, we'll bounce back, sort of. But like, it then showed the next year, it's just the club was just in such a bad place behind the scenes.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say we didn't realise how bad it was until that summer when we went back into League Two. Yeah,
so I think there wasn't just, obviously if there was Brad and Shannon then in there at the time, then who knows if it might have been different or not. Obviously we'll never know, but it wasn't a good place to be at the time, being brutally honest. So at the time it just seemed like a good step to make. Back into League One, obviously more exposure at a higher level. And try and obviously get promoted, which didn't turn out to happen. But
no, unfortunately you ended up with back-to-back relegations with two different clubs. So it's fair to say that move didn't work out.
No,
I mean, you can't say anything else. Like you said, you went from third the season before you joined to. I thought the move suited you. I thought the way MK Dons played, I thought, looking at how you'd played for 2 seasons, you're decent with your feet, you was able to play out from the back. I thought it was a move that was going to set you up. Obviously it didn't. How tough was that? Because you've gone from joining as a kid, you've gone through every age group, you made your debut against Portsmouth, you then carried on working hard, you made your debut against Bristol Rovers, you've become a first team regular, you've played in a decent side that's finished 10th in League One twice in a row. So right up until that relegation, your career has just gone in one direction. So then you've had 2 years that are really tough. How hard was that? Because you were still young then. I'm not being, it's 3 years. You've only been 22.
It was. It's really tough, obviously. Being relegated is just a horrible feeling in general for whatever club you're at. I think even if you're there for 2 weeks of the season, just that horrible feeling you have on the last game when it's confirmed is the worst. And obviously both seasons it was on the last game of the season. So you spend, like we were saying, when you
is that worse? Would you rather be relegated a month before?
I mean, obviously you always want a chance.
Of course,
But like, it makes it that much harder to take when it is that close. That I think both seasons might have even been on goal difference. I think, which is just the fine margin in football, like 1 goal, 1 point, which obviously is the same for the other team as well. Don't get me wrong, but it was hard. Obviously, my first time sort of always lived at home, being in Whitstable, only half hour from Gills. So it was just sort of my first year being away and sort of having to grow up in a way and out of football life.
And then when the team's not playing well, it's not as enjoyable as you'd hoped anyway.
There's no time to settle really. You've got to sort of get straight into trying to win games of football, playing as well as you can. It was obviously not a easy time of my career, that sort of year. It was obviously tough. I think Burton away, we needed to better someone's result. I can't remember who it was. I think we needed to win. We had 31 shots to their like 8 or something, and drew 0-0. Just like I remember at the end, it was a scramble at the end of the game.
Remember the game when we beat MK Dons in the COVID season, and they scored. We beat them 3-2, and they put that tweet out about 54 passes for Will Griggs opener. We lost.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it was just like. It's not meant to be, is it? Like there was a scramble at the end where I think Will Grigg, funnily enough, was like the ball was just bounced around the 6-yard box for it felt like an eternity, like just pinging around everywhere, swiping at it, missing it, swiping it and missing it, and then they eventually cleared it. And it's just.
And if you want one player in the 6-yard box needing to score a goal,
out of anyone I've probably played with, I'd have him in that situation any day of the week. Sometimes it doesn't happen, does it? But yeah, it's one of them things. So obviously another summer living with a bit of a. I don't know what the word is.
What ifs, I suppose?
Just what ifs, yeah. Just obviously there's big moments in careers that sort of define your careers, isn't there? So you'd see players that have 5 promotions on their CV that just sort of are the right place at the right time, and then big games they just seem to go their way.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the 2 years in a row, those 2 big games last game of the season didn't go my way. So sort of hits you for 6 a little bit. Sort of thinks, Jesus, like obviously. The whole season's work just to go and lose on that last day is just so deflating. And obviously you feel for the fans and everyone that puts all their hard-earned money into supporting you, and you just want to, as much for yourself, you want to give the club and the fans just something back, essentially, for all the support. But ultimately it wasn't to be.
So back in the last season you went on over to Colchester because you weren't playing at MK. So I'm assuming the first part of the question is you're probably thinking, that might be my time up at MK because my contract's up at the end of the season. So you're almost using that as a bit of a transfer window, I guess, in the sense that you're putting yourself back in the shop window. But how much did you need that as an individual to go out and play and just remind yourself that you are still a good footballer? Yeah,
I desperately needed it. I think I played a little bit before the new manager Scott Lindsay come in at MK. I played a good amount of the games before he came in, and then played the first 5 with him in charge. I think we drew 2 and won 3 maybe, so unbeaten and done well. I was pretty happy with how I played. Then we lost 1-0 to Port Vale at home late on, and he changed the team the next week, put another centre half in. I was like, fine, he told me about it, no problem. And then I never played another minute of league football for MK from that moment. So
that was November, December? Because you didn't play against us, did you? And we won it, MK, in December.
Didn't play them, no. I think, probably November, I think it was.
I think we went there and they were unbeaten under Lindsay.
I think we won like 5 in a row or something like that. So sort of no problem like when I come out of the team, but then just felt obviously harsh that I played 5 games with him and done well, and we didn't lose, and then lose 1-0 one game, and then don't play again in the league. Played an EFL game and that was it. But these things happen. Like some managers don't like certain players, which is football. Like it's nothing for me to moan about. Sort of take it on the chin and then move on.
And them ended up being similar to us, didn't they? I mean, if the club's having 3 managers in a campaign, then they're not going to end up at the right end of the table.
It's never a great sign, is it? But then like you said, going to Colchester, really enjoyed my time there. Obviously, a little bit of bad luck that I think I joined and we played Morecambe at home and won. And I think from that game we went about another 12 games unbeaten, conceding very few goals. I'm sure you've seen the stats and stuff of the defensive stuff in the league, in Colchester I think Matt Macy won the Golden Glove, I think, tied with Owen Goodman. Just weren't conceding at all, which obviously when you're at a club that's doing so well, it's obviously nice to see, but at the same time, when you're a centre half,
don't get it aside.
The team's never going to change, which is like, if I was the manager, I wouldn't change it either, because why would you? That's how football works, Like if I'd come in 3 weeks before and they'd lost 1 or 2 games, I might have gone in and it might have gone a bit different, but wasn't to be. But came in a few games and came on a fair few times. Started a couple. Obviously started at Cheltenham away, played centre half, won 1-0, so that was obviously a good game. And then a month or so later played first time back at Priestfield.
But that was weird, wasn't it?
Yeah, really weird.
Make sure you went in the right door.
Well, luckily I was following the other lads into the changing room. So I didn't have to worry about that bit, but no, it is odd. Obviously I'd been there once with MK when I was on the bench, so I didn't actually play. But it's my first time playing back at Priestfield in front of the fans.
And a midfield enforcer as well.
Yeah, back in centre midfield, like the old Was it Steve Evans that I played there under? I think it
A
was.
couple of times, didn't
Yeah,
we?
played about 6
Played you at
games
the
or something.
base, didn't he? Or something?
Yeah,
And
me
we
and
had
Stu.
Stewie and I think Tom played at the left of a diamond
Yeah,
a couple
something
of
like
times
that,
as well, yeah.
But yeah, obviously it's when the fixtures come out at the start of the season, it's always the first game I look for is when are we playing Gills, wherever I am. Just because, yeah, obviously you look forward to that game probably the most. But yeah, weird feeling just sort of coming out as the away team. Yeah, very odd, but no, really enjoyable.
Good reception though, didn't you?
Yeah, no, I really appreciate that because obviously I know like we were talking about earlier with the relegation, it didn't end pretty well. And obviously because the fans come on the pitch, I felt like I never really got a chance to say goodbye.
Pitch invasions, weren't there, because our fans ran on, Rotherham.
We were that end, and Rotherham smothered us, so we were just told get straight off the pitch.
Stay in here.
So yeah, obviously having spent so long at the club, I felt I never really got a chance to just say goodbye and like appreciate the fans for the support they showed me throughout my time there. So yeah, I really appreciated the ovation I got. Obviously, I think both teams went home relatively happy that day, so that obviously probably helped as well.
Yeah, better draw for Colchester.
We were down to the bare bones, managed to hold on for a draw. You obviously probably deserve to win the game, but I think being Gareth's first home game, I think you were probably all quite encouraged from how well you did play. So as much as you didn't take 3 points, I think you're probably looking optimistic about how things were going to maybe look with the new manager.
Yeah, we ended the season really well, which was good.
But yeah, no, I loved it. I think I went down with cramp after about 80 minutes in front of the Raynham end, and I think they thought I was wasting time, but I generally did have cramp because do a lot more running in centre of the field than you do at centre half.
Well, I'm saying you've not played a lot in the last.
No, exactly. So hadn't played in probably a month. Well, hadn't played 90 minutes in probably a month from that point. So yeah, calves cramped up a little bit, but I tried to jog it off and keep the Raynham End's fans happy.
Last question. Out of contract, trying to find a club.
Yeah.
How different's pre-season for a player out of contract? Having to motivate yourself to get up and do the fitness work on your own without the benefit of being able to go and join the lads like you normally do. Lack of routine.
I think the off season doesn't change. Like obviously, you don't have the security of knowing I'm back in on this date with this club, which is obviously you'd probably want as a footballer, just knowing that the security is there. But the off season's the same. Like I'm always keen to stay running because ultimately you don't want to. The last thing you want to do, especially going to a new club, is be out of shape. You want to be at the best sort of condition you can be. Obviously, you're not going to be match fit yet by any means, like no one is. But you want to go in and make an impression. First week of training, first game, whatever it is. You want to go in and impress, really. So yeah, I'll be doing a lot of running, keeping myself fit. Been in the gym, and yeah, just sort of waiting to get things sorted. Club-wise.
Fingers crossed,
yeah.
Join someone wherever that may be. Sooner rather than later.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, obviously pre-season around the corner, so it'd be nice to have it sorted sooner rather than later and get as much time.
Clubs are in now, aren't they?
Yeah, get as much time training as possible.
Getting too much behind.
Yeah, so no, I'm sure it'll take care of itself and then go from there and hopefully have a positive season wherever it is.
It's been a pleasure.
Cheers, mate. Appreciate it. Thanks for your time.
No,
nice one,
really
mate.
good. Thank you, mate.
Thank you.
Gills fans, if you are watching at this point, thank you very much for that. Like we always ask, please consider hitting the like button. Please consider pressing subscribe. Again, big thanks to Jack for taking time.
Cheers, guys.
On the final weekend of his pre-season. Be back next week, hopefully, with some more content. Not sure what that is yet, but obviously pre-season friendlies are just around the corner, so it won't be long until we get ourselves back in the football stadiums. But until then, have a good week and up the Gills.